There we go. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, it's Ronai, and I'm here with Shannon, and we have fun stuff to share with you today. Shannon, what did we do on Saturday?
We went to Life Surge Minneapolis. So Life Surge is a Christian event with all kinds of different Christian business leaders, different pastoral leaders, spiritual leaders, um, who come in. And the focus kind of is on money mindset, like within the Christian community and what God intended for us and why and how to some level how us as Christians have a certain responsibility to steward our money wisely to be able to give to others, create something to pass down to the next generations of our family, so on and so forth. I know money
Absolutely.
can be a very sensitive topic, so I'm trying to describe it in a very friendly way.
Well, okay, it's the elephant in the room. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Are Christians allowed to have money? Like wealth in abundance.
Absolutely.
What can Christians do with wealth and abundance?
Well, the hope would be that they would, one, create a legacy to pass down, and two, obviously, as it multiplies and the more abundance they have, the more they are able to affect, give, change the world around them.
Absolutely. So the other elephant in the room, do all Christians do this?
The give part,
Yeah.
no. Well, I no. I mean,
We're not here
no.
to judge. We're not here to judge. We're just here to like open a conversation, okay? So there are a lot of people, let's say it this way. There are a lot of people who claim to be Christian and don't follow. And this is with
Right.
any religion. This is just there's a lot of people are fallible, right?
Yeah.
But what this meeting was about is helping you to get out of that mindset that money is bad, because money is neither good or bad. It's what you do with it
Right.
that is good or bad. And so that was an awesome thing. I thought it was really fun that the MC was Chris Graby, who young Ronay watched on Road Rules on MTV, which I was not supposed to be watching, by the way. My parents did not like if MTV was on, they were like, that's not good. Turn that off.
Uh, we grew up in very opposite households. My, I really had no restrictions on when I was a teenager. My father's rule was if you're going to be gone longer than 2 days, you need to check in. That's, yeah.
I think mine was if I was gone longer than 20 minutes. Other than when I was I mean, when I was a teenager, that was, but when I was elementary age, man, we could wander all over the neighborhood. Like we had our
Yeah.
little gang of friends and we just went from house to house. We played through all the yards. Like it was a different world.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like the sun's up, leave the house. When the sun goes down, you can come back in.
Be home. Yeah.
And there's feeding times. It's like you were the livestock. There's feeding times. Otherwise, go out.
And if you needed water, there's the hose.
Yeah, exactly. It really was like that. It's like don't come back in until it's dark. Go find something to do.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. All right. So, oh, so many good things. Like I've got my notes in
Yeah.
front of me and I just don't
So
even know the way to start this.
let me ask you, because this was my second time at Life Surge. This was your first time. What was your overall impression? And what did you feel it was about? Same, I mean, did I describe it accurately?
Um, yes. Okay. So first off, it was no faith over fear.
No, yeah, no,
Faith
nothing
over
will ever
fear,
be faith
just
over fear.
3 day. Oh, just.
Yeah,
And I guess it was a little more business than I was prepared for, but I
yeah,
was also like, oh yeah, that's what this is supposed to be about. This is supposed to be about showing us different ways to get out of our debt mindset, to open up
Yeah.
our financial wealth mindset. And that was really good. There was a lot of people I didn't know who were going to be there. And I was super surprised by some of them where I was just like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. Ed
Yeah.
Milet, oh my gosh. Right. And I had never heard him. I
Amazing.
went and I turned on one of his YouTube things afterwards and I was like, okay, this is cool. But him on stage and just
Yeah.
being open and raw and just so Christ-centered, I was like, that was amazing.
I've watched him and followed him and been on some like webinar events with him over the years. And I've never heard him talk like that.
It
Tells such a personal story on such a personal level.
it was uh,
And his was really geared towards the power of one more day, not giving up, the power of one more, which is like one, I think that's the actual title of one of his books. But it's kind of about not giving up. It's about what's important in life, relationship with family, you know, repair
yeah,
and forgiveness. He was very focused on the foundational things that are important in life.
it was well, also him describing his last days with his dad just reminded me so much of my last days with my dad and seeing my dad talk with God and like
Yeah.
really cementing for me that there is a God. There is an afterlife. There, like, I cannot deny that because I literally saw my dad talking with God. Like,
Yeah.
I can't deny it. And to have him have this powerful experience with his dad, which the turnover from his dad being a drug addict and an alcoholic and just scary for his family and having Ed be this like little boy taking care of his mom and sisters and like protector and like this shield between them to the shift when his dad became sober and how his dad became his best friend. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people could have been like, no, you were super a-hole and I am like I want nothing to do with you because his dad didn't get sober until he was 15,
Yeah.
right? And at that age, most people are like cemented teenagers, woo, right? He could have just been so bitter and so, but it was so different, right? It was,
Yeah. It was an amazing story.
yeah.
Amazing story. And we had, so you were in the first row, I was in the second row because you are
First
much
row row
happier.
center. Like
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
wanted to sit in the center where like everybody's your best friend, and I'm like, it's a little too much for me. I'm gonna sit in the second row on the edge seat. Like, so we were only like 3 seats apart, one
yeah.
row apart. So, but the young man sitting in front of me, 22-year-old young man named Zach,
Oh,
and he was amazing young man. Like, first of all, everybody talks about Gen Z and what trouble we're in, and I just look at people like him and I think, we are in good hands. Like, got some Christ-centered youth who are just, he was there, he's 22, there by himself. And his father passed away. We were talking, he's like, Ed Milet really moved me. Like I could so relate because his father passed away when he was 17 and he got to be there when his father passed. And you know me, I can't even talk about it too long. I'm gonna like start crying because it's like my empathy is so high. It's like I just can't imagine. But I was like, man, your dad did good. Look at you. He was so inspiring, but boy, you think of that. I can't imagine losing your father in general because I've not lost mine yet.
mm,
I have
it's rough.
not, yeah, I have not lost a parent. I have not lost a sibling. I am very, very blessed that way, 52, and I've lost two people that I've been really close to. And I think that's a very, very low number.
We
And
we didn't grow up close to family. So, like, I didn't really know my grandparents. My mom didn't have a good relationship with hers. My dad's lived in Hawaii. We saw her a couple times my lifetime. Like, it wasn't my first real loss was my dad.
mm,
I do not recommend.
yeah,
It's And my dad and I,
Like
we
you
were
get a
like
choice in it.
zero
I don't recommend losing your father first.
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. That is not the person to lose.
How
Like a great grandparent, like
old were you?
is 32.
Well, that's still really young.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a young age to lose a parent.
Yeah. It's we're just gonna we're gonna take a minute. Let me talk about the young man next to me who was 28, who was there by himself.
He was awesome.
Deshaun. Cute little bow tie. He was rocking it. Dude was so faithful and so strong. And again, you're right. Like the generation that's coming up, you can see the ones that
Yeah.
were raised right. Or like he was so cute though. He was like, I've done so many wrong things in my life. And I was like, okay, but you're 28 and you're here. He
Yeah.
he's selling his like he built a business. He's selling it and he's starting a new business. 28 years old.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then Brent next to me on the other side. You guys, who remembers Scooter from KDWB? He
Back in
started
the day.
working as a producer of a show at 15 years old. And he did his radio voice for me. It was awesome. But like his dad was not great. And like beat him down like verbally. I don't know what else. Like he was just talking about that. But then would like brag on him, not to him, but to, like he heard it roundabout. And he was just so confused about stuff like that, right? But his story, he has had, I think, one or two, was that a liver transplants? Has
Oh,
multiple different types of cancers. He's had problems with his kidneys. Again, I don't know which one was cancer. It's hard to get people's stories when there's like just all this noise and this music and like trying to talk with people. And he died twice apparently. And he's like, yeah, people keep saying I should tell my story. I'm like, yes, yes, you
yeah, you
should.
should.
And then when he got there, he had a VIP ticket. We had the ultimate ticket, so that's how we ended up on the front row. How I met him was I went up to buy waters for us,
Oh,
and he
yeah.
would give me cash to go buy waters for us. And they don't take cash. And I'm standing there and I was like, uh, oh, okay. So I was gonna go down, get my credit card, come back up. Guy behind me says, you know what? I got this. I got this. Let me get this for you. And I was like, well, like I can give you this cash. And he goes, no, no, no. I was standing first in line, and somebody in the line next to me, because there was the VIP line and the ultimate line, he says, hey, I have an extra ultimate ticket. Do you want it? And he's
You're
like,
like, yes, sir, I
okay. He
do.
says, so I'm just paying this forward, buying your water, right? Which
Oh,
was not cheap. They were like $6 a water.
it's very, very special tasting water.
Really special Dasani.
Yes.
So I go down and I sit down, and here comes the same guy sitting right next to me. And he's like, it was just, it's one of those people like you're supposed to meet and you're supposed to hear their story and you're supposed to like connect. And it was just phenomenal to be between these two guys who were just so on fire and so excited to be there. And um now, not all was happiness there, right?
What's interesting though about him, because I talked to him for a few minutes, not as much as you did, but I talked to him for a few minutes and it reminded me a little bit of me because here you talk about he comes from maybe this family situation that isn't the best at that time of his life.
Dysfunctional.
And yeah, and he talked about being at the radio station because we were talking about the different bands he had met, the different things he had done, what we started talking about was all the clubs you used to go to, how like the DJs would go out and there were dance clubs and you would dance. And which there I mean there's not much of them. I say it like that because you really can't find them anymore. And I was asking some young people in their 20s even, I'm like, do you guys have like dance clubs? Like where like do the music's playing and we're like, hey, we're like and they're like, well, no, not really. Like none of the clubs. And I'm like, what do you go to club for then? Like what's the point? Like what's but so we started talking about that and we were talking about all the different clubs they went to and all the things back in the day. And he was like, I was really blessed because I was surrounded by people at that radio station who watched over me and took care of me. And I got to experience all these great things without it being a negative thing, without it spiraling into something it shouldn't at the young age I was. And I thought, how cool is that that, God, I mean, I think any of us could look back, and if you really look, you can pinpoint a person, a time, a place, a thing, something that was there when you felt like nothing else was, and to be able to have that. So it's kind of cool story.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're all around us. The couple right behind me that were kind of next to you, that was
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
yep.
get their story as much, but again, energetically, you and I are both energetic people. There was just like this
Yeah.
awesome surrounding. The music was good. And then the speech.
Well, and Deshaun and the husband of the couple next to me, um, they made a connection. They each do some sort of business that can work together.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was neat. And then behind them, there was another young guy, just like Deshaun,
Oh,
like,
yes.
and he was there by himself, and he's like a tech guy who does, oh Lord, I don't know what the title is, but basically he works in the architecture industry, and his job is all things current technology. And then basically companies bring him in to help keep them current with technology and what they could be utilizing to, you know, optimize their business within the architecture field. And I'm like, well, who doesn't need that? Because I'm like, so then we were talking about technology, which is so funny because I know, like this much. I'm like, no, no, no.
I
So he
know
starts
less.
saying, he's like, obviously you're pretty techy. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. What you're hearing, like, this is it. This right here. This is like my resume. This is beyond this. We can't talk anymore. But it was so cool because all day I could hear him every praise and worship time. I could hear his voice. I could hear, and I was just, I don't know, you get so excited about what's to come when you're surrounded by young people. And I
Yes.
feel so old saying young 28-year-olds.
But it's not just young people.
No,
Brent next to me was not like he was our age.
right. But I get excited by the young people.
I did think Chris Grady was a few years older than he actually is. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
how did,
oops.
yeah.
Not because he looked older, just because
No,
when you have somebody from your generation that you just assume you're all the same age.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Poor
yeah,
guy.
or
His
not, or 10
his
years younger than us. It's okay.
well,
10
6.
years younger than me.
Oh, let's,
Okay, what else?
I don't know. Okay, so starting with Craig,
Craig Rochelle.
thank you. I'm like, we're gonna
Mm,
work on
mm,
names.
mm, mm.
Nick Vujicic is gonna be the hardest. We're just gonna call him Nick V from now on because I literally just had to look. I looked it up how to pronounce it, like listen to it, and I couldn't remember. So again, I have it right in front of my screen. Vujicic, Nick V.
Yeah,
He was the one I was most excited to see, which I mean, I have followed when did I start doing personal development? I mean, it's been a lot of years. We're just going to say that. A
yeah.
lot of more than 20. And he has been one of those people along that path that at some point I came across like a video and I was like, "Wow, look look at this person. Like no arms, no legs, just a little flipper foot." And his I guess we're starting with Nick because like, I was gonna start at the beginning, but his story is just so phenomenal. And then to hear it from him as he's saying, my family pretty much said, look, you've got to get really smart and you've got to figure out what you're going to do in life because we're not always going to be here to be able to support you. And they just made him as independent as possible
Yeah,
and teaching like working his brain like really like you've got to be smart, you've got to do this because you've got to be able to pay people to be able to take care of you. And then just to see the picture of him with his beautiful wife and 4 children, and the last 2 being twins, like that
yeah.
was amazing. Let's see.
I think
Oh,
he's very impactful because 80% of us are visual people, and when you see a human being tell a story like his with no arms, no legs, and it takes away all your excuses, right?
yeah,
All the things you tell yourself, I can't, I can't, I can't. And then you look at him and you look at what he's doing and how he lives his life, and it's like, I look really silly telling myself I can't do A, B, or C. Like, because clearly I can go do it, and he literally cannot, in some cases do those things.
yeah. One of the things that he said was you just have to start with one little step. And it's so cute because he like does a little
Takes
step.
this little hobble step. Doot, 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 doot.
And he's like, what I
And
haven't
he
been,
makes arms and leg jokes all the time. Like his whole talk,
okay,
he makes jokes about his
okay.
hand. I don't give handouts. He likes his face like the whole time.
So I made up these little cards to give to, and I was only able to give it to a couple people, but to get a free copy of my book, which it's so close. Anyway, um I was able to give one to Ben. I don't think I ever caught Ben's
Sturgill.
hit. I gave one to Ben, and then I was like, could you give one to Nick? And we saw Ben at the very end, got a picture. He says, okay, I gave it to Nick. He says, I tried he said I tried to hand it to him. And he goes, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't have any arms to take. He goes,
Uh,
and Ben was like, he does that to me all the time. He
it's
goes,
like,
so I gave it to his assistant. And I was like, just so cool. But when he's talking about taking one little step, he's like, but I don't speak it as Spanish. And he says, so go and learn. And he says, well, what if I fail? He says, well, make failure your classroom. And it was
yeah,
just, it's like we come up with so many excuses as to why we don't do things. And the other thing that was super impactful is when he's like, is God real or is he an accessory? He says, if I got up and I only talked to my wife first thing in the morning for a couple minutes and then right before bed, what kind of relationship is that? And I was like, yes. Like
yeah.
so often, my husband, I'll be in the kitchen, talk, and he's like, what'd you say? And I was like, I wasn't talking to you. Or as we are formatting. So yesterday we spent a whole day formatting my book, and we had to come up with like consistency. So he's taking the chaos of my brain and using his consistency to like there's several things that he's like, why did you do it this way? And I'm like, I don't know, it made sense to me. He goes, it's not going to make sense to anybody else. And
Well,
my
it'll
son
make
who
sense to me.
what my son who
Consistency is
edited
number
it
34, so makes sense to me.
analytical 34. So my son who edited it, he goes, yeah, I was kind of wondering about some of those things, but I didn't do anything because I didn't want to make big changes. But the changes that my husband made just were like taking information from down here, putting it up here where it made more
Mhm.
logical sense. But as he's creating consistency, there are conversations that I've had with God, and he's like, was this in your brain or out of your brain? Because a lot of times I'm like, okay, well, a lot of times, I'm praying silently, like I'm at an event, I'm praying
Yeah.
silently, having a conversation with God. And so we created, and then there's that point where I was like, wait, what? And he's like, did you say that in your head or out loud? And I was like, I think I said it out loud, but it could have been in my brain. Like, I don't know. Like when God tells you something, you're like, wait, what? So just like finding that, having that conversation with God, whether it's in your brain or whether it's out loud, like should be happening throughout your day, just like you
Right.
would with a best friend, like just having not just a good morning, Lord, night, Lord, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah, that was the way he said that. Is God an accessory? Like that hits you because especially probably especially for women, because we're known for accessorizing that, it's like, oh, is he just like your purse that
wearing my
you only
cross.
grab? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was impactful.
Oh my goodness. What else?
Craig Rochelle opened the day.
Oh yeah. Let's go back to Craig. He,
I was so excited because he was not originally listed on the lineup. And then I got an email like a week ago that's like he's gonna be there. And I was like, oh, because I follow him. He's a pastor and founder of Life Church, huge church. And I'll let you tell about the one thing. But I got to know him originally. He does a leadership podcast about leading your team in a Christ-led manner. And um, he's got several books out and he is just amazing. So to start your day with him, I don't even know how to describe him other than he's just awesome. He's
He
like,
was awesome
yeah. And he's so real and like so down to earth and so, I
and
don't know.
super humble because he came out
Yeah.
and Chris Graby had like given him this beautiful intro, just like all these amazing things that he's done. He's like, I need to clarify something. I was just the instrument. It's all God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And he's done some big things.
yeah. So the big thing that I know because I have it on my phone is the U version. So the Bible app that is free and amazing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I know who he is now because he when apps were coming out for the very first time, somebody came to him and said we should put a Bible app out there. And so they had like this 19-year-old kid who's like, "Oh, I can do that." And it took him, I think, 2 months. Not even.
Something. Yeah.
I don't know. It was a really short time. He just built this app and they put it out and it was one of the very first apps. It came out on the first day, the Bible app, and like 280,000 downloads, which is pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
then what was cool is money from Life Surge. So money that we paid in, they're like, you don't even know this, but you're part of this is going to purchase like just Life Surge Minneapolis to purchase and distribute 22,000 Bibles to countries that don't have access, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And they said they're going to hit 1 billion downloads this year, I think he said.
Yeah.
I think the best part about his story for me, and I had heard him tell this before, is his faith walk when he first became a Christian. And he talks about it, how he was this young guy in college and he was doing all the dumb things that, young kids do. And he, decided that he wanted to learn more about God and wanted to whatever. And so he just walks you through, and it's very funny if you've never heard the story. Um, Kind of walks you through how he just decided to start a Bible study. Like he wasn't even actually a Christian yet. And, he had gotten one of those little pocket Bibles that only has the four books of
But
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
you have to tell how that happened though.
But go ahead.
Okay, so he decides because his fraternity got in trouble and he's like, okay, well, we don't want to get kicked off campus. We don't, so we're gonna do a Bible study and like nobody and he walks into one of his classes and all of a sudden it hit him. He's like, I don't even have a Bible. And so then he's like, I didn't know how to pray. And I was like, God, if you want me to do this, like I need a Bible. He walks out of his class. He walks out of his class and he says, I kid you not. Oh, he also probably swore a couple times while he was asking God things, by the way. Walks out of the classroom and there's a guy standing there and he's like, would you like a Bible? And it's like this little teeny, and he's like, awesome. So he goes to the guys that night, and there's like him and six other guys. And he says, okay, guys, open to the first page of your Bible. And everybody else opens up to Genesis, and he opens up to Matthew. And he's like, okay, well, I guess we're opening up to Matthew. And he says, he says, if you are a bunch of people to have drunk dudes, like the first book to read is Matthew. He says, it's not, it's all the begats. Like so and so. And he starts reading through that. He goes, let's turn to chapter 2. I'm sure it gets better.
But it's so great. Point being, not even a Christian, no idea what he is doing. Didn't even really start it because he wanted a relationship with God. He wanted a relationship with something good to get him out of trouble, to make them look good. And
I
then,
don't know if it was even a relationship, an association, I think.
yeah. And so it's just kind of amazing how it's an amazing example of how God will use anyone. They always say you don't have to be equipped to go, you have to be willing to go, and God will equip you.
Yes.
And, he didn't even know what he was being willing to go to, but he just went and, found God actually in the midst of it. But I love stories like that.
I also love like his not tag his motto with his company is lead the way with irrational generosity because it is better to give than receive. And that's
Yeah.
what he does with his company. And the more money he gets, the more money he gives. And it's just he said God has given each of us talents and we must multiply those talents,
Yeah.
and I think several people talked about the parable of the talents and how we can't just bury our talents. We really, really need to grow them. And that is physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. We need to
Yeah.
grow what God has given us. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
oh my gosh.
And then who else? The Benham brothers.
Oh,
I love them. And they have a great, I can't remember what it's called now, and I have it on my phone.
they're,
It's like
they're
the Lions something. And it's they get on every Sunday morning and they do like a little Bible study, but they tie it into current events. So they take current events and tie it into biblical principles, and they're really cool to listen to.
this is
Yeah.
their new book. And I'm not here to promote anything. I get nothing from it. I haven't even opened it. I'm just saying that this is a biblical blueprint to create and multiply your resources for kingdom impact. Sounds kind of cool. So I'm excited to jump into that. I just was, working like we worked like all day yesterday on formatting my book. So excited to get in that. Wealth and financial resources give you options. And that was one of the big thing because they were blackballed because of their beliefs. They had
Yeah.
this, all this stuff, they were getting bigger and bigger. You have to have passive income. So there's the active income that you're actively working at, but you need to have passive income coming in from multiple streams that people can't touch. Because if people trash your name, like all the stuff that goes with that, like,
Right. And for them, they were going to be one of the original HGTV do it yourself, like house flipping shows.
yeah,
Um, them and the Gaines family. And it was going to be the twins, like they were going to be the original Property Brothers, the twins who were going to be flipping houses and doing whatever. And then there was a thing that came up, and they didn't talk about it specifically this time, but for them, it was homosexuality is what came up for them. That's the story behind it. Is somebody asked them where they stood on it and what the Bible, and they just said what the Bible stands on it, and you know how that goes. And then it was a big debate on all of a sudden they were homophobic and they were this, that, and the other, and it turned into a big thing. And the show that had already had 5 episodes filmed or something like that got canceled and never got put on because there was all these groups that came after them online. And they almost compromised their faith, you know, and just said, okay, we won't talk about faith on the show. And then they said they had drafted this email they were going to send, but then they went through kind of saw a spiritual mentor and said, hey, we're thinking about sending this. What do you think? And he was like, I think if
shame
he
on
was in
you.
person, he would have smacked him across the head. Yeah, he was like, shame on you. You are not sending this. And, obviously God has blessed them and beyond with what they're doing now and took them in a different direction. But um, it's just amazing. I can't imagine. I mean, just think of having to stand on that. You're a young two guys, and this is like probably like a dream you have. This is like, oh my gosh, all your dreams realized. We're going to put you on TV and you can teach people how to flip these houses and do these things. And that's a moment. And so it's kind of a cool story.
Yeah, I liked faith that isn't tested can't be trusted.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Um, oh my gosh, what else?
I liked what was her name? The one who was the original speaker, press secretary or whatever for
Haley.
Mulvaney, Mulvaney, Mulvaney. I don't
I
remember how you
think
say her
that's her
name.
last name.
It's like
Again, I went
Mulnany
in
or
this
something like that.
not knowing most of these people. Like, but she looked like a Barbie doll. Like
I
she's
know, it's so cute.
in pink with this beautiful blonde hair and talking about what would have been super controversial here in Minneapolis especially is how faith-filled Trump is
I
and how
love, yeah,
he is and how family-centered he is. So that was really good to hear from somebody who is just like she was like he told me like why are you here? You could have sent one of your assistants and you should be with your husband as was he pitching? I think he was pitching.
yes, yep.
And just like how much support she got, which was kind of a beautiful thing. So that was awesome.
That's that's what I loved about it. I love when you get to hear get personal insight into who your leader is, the leader of the country, and you get to hear really behind all the drama and the headlines and the world events and all the stuff, like at the core, what kind of human being is leading our country. And um, I've always found that really fascinating. And I have a connection to someone who's active Secret Service and has been for multiple presidents now. And so it's just always interesting to get to hear little snippets of what kind of human being people really are behind closed doors. And so I really that was comforting, like you said, with all the whatever you want to call it around Trump, love him, hate him, support him, don't, whatever your take is on it, um, to hear what kind of a human he is.
Yeah. Oh, and then Chris Graby, not only did he MC, but he got to speak at one point. And one of the things he was
Yeah.
talking about how he became a pastor and at one point his wife came to him and said, "We have 17 cents in our bank account and we still have 4 days before we get paid. Like, what are we going to do?" And he just like felt like such a failure and was like, "God, like I'm doing all these things." But again, a lot of pastors have that mindset of like we can't gain wealth because that's wrong. And then he started selling. He kept saying Tupperware, but it was his own brand, so
Right.
the Tupperware's, I think,
He created his own brand of food storage containers.
food stored containers. There we go. And then all of a sudden his wife was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." But he said true change typically only happens after some kind of pain. And that's
Yeah.
so true. Like most of these speakers had this painful event and then like truly relied on God. And I've been there. I've felt that. And I'm like, I'm gonna have a conversation with God too. Like, actually, no, I just heard the answer. It's like because you won't listen until you're in that position.
Right. Until you're
I
ready
was
to
gonna
hear
be all
him.
sassy and be like, "God, why did we have to go through all this pain?" And I heard it was like, "Really? Were you going to listen until you were there?" Nope.
Yeah.
In my book, that would be in quotes and italicized, just so you know.
Yeah, I think pain always has a purpose, whether we understand it or figure out what that is.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
who
gosh.
uh, who else? Ed Milet,
Oh.
and then
Mm. Okay. Like again, we talked about him a little bit. But he just speaks with this power and authority and like things that we always know, right? But I
yeah.
started writing down, I'm like, he has woo and empathy and communicator, like that has got to be there. My favorite story that he told though is he talked about how stupid he is. He's like, if a stupid guy like me can own an island and jets and all this money and blah blah blah, and he gives away, right? He takes care of people. He does all this stuff, but he says, no, no, no. I'm gonna tell you how stupid I am because my wife loves to tell this story. He says, I've known my wife since we were in kindergarten. Like I've just and I think I've loved her all my life because she let me copy off of her papers. He said, and in third grade, I copied her spelling test. And the next day I came in and he says, I could feel the energy. So that's why I'm like, empathy's got to be up there because he's like, he could feel the energy of the room had shifted. And the teacher says, hey, guys, we have a problem. Like, there was some cheating that happened on this test. And he's like, ooh, I knew. I knew right then. I knew I was in trouble, but I'm just trying to keep quiet, right? And she said, because I have two tests that the spelling words are all exactly the same, including the three words that are misspelled exactly the same that are misspelled. And she says, I'm pretty sure I know who did it. And I'm thinking there's going to be this plot twist that she's going to accuse Ed's wife or something. And I missed Ed's wife's name, but she said, because I have two tests here and they both have Ed's wife's name. He says, I was so stupid. I wrote her name on the test thinking it was a spelling word.
Copied everything, including her name, onto his own test.
Oh my gosh. But he also said, in life, you are most qualified to help those who you who you used to be. So I'm gonna say that again.
Mm.
You're most qualified to help those who are who you used to be.
Yeah.
And it's true because people ask me, who is my avatar? Like, who am I looking to work for in business? And when I really think about it, so often the people I connect with the best are women around my age who have children who are no longer home or have just gone to college, who are like, and now what?
Mm.
Because I know, or, well, I do tend to attract a lot of mid 20s. Like my
Yeah.
kids' friends keep coming to me as well. Like, but like I've been there. I've been there. I know where they're at. I know how to help them because I know what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's me too. I tracked a lot of those, my kids' ages, friends, to have
Yeah.
those conversations and stuff. I think, and his point in saying that, it was perfect because he said, his dad was a drunk, his words. And he says, and who helped my dad wasn't a pastor, it was another drunk, like somebody who knew. And that is so true on how that happens. You can connect with somebody who knows and can understand what you're going through, or just like young Zach in front of me who connected so deeply with Ed because he's like, I know that moment. I lived that moment too. And or you who connected with Ed because you're like, I know that moment of losing your dad that way. I lived that moment too.
It's just so awful.
And yeah, he
Oh,
was. And then of course, Chris Carter was there for the Minnesota Vikings.
well, wait a second. I just have two more things.
Mm,
So that Ed said, there's blessing on the other side to just hold on for one more day. He said, you don't have um, I can't remember like a perception problem. He says you have a depth perception problem. Your goal is actually closer than you think. And you're just one
yeah,
decision away from like you're always just one decision away from reaching that. It can be this way or that way.
yeah.
But I just thought that was awesome. And then yes,
And that is one of his like I said, I think the title of the book is The Power of One More. I should know it because it's sitting behind me here somewhere. Um, but he really teaches a lot on one more day, one more decision, one more step forward. Like if you focus just on one more and not where you're trying to get to 10 years down the road, because we focus on the big picture all the time. It's I want to lose 100 pounds. And it's like, well, focus on losing the first pound. Focus on just losing one more pound. Focus on just not drinking one more day. And um, he wrote a whole book on the concept, which is and you really think, and it's so true, right? Think of anything you've given up on in life. And it's like if I would have just maybe just done one more day and gotten over that hump.
Yeah.
and kept hanging in there.
Well, and okay, so one of the reasons I like to sit on the front row is so often people will actually make eye contact with you. And I feel like
Yeah,
he was one of those people and
I
he
know.
crouched down and he was like, let's see if I look up at this, like just right in your face, and it was just
I know you were feeling really convicted. You were like, "Are you like, do you know my life? Like, what?" You know, it's just like,
okay. But another person who did that was the
and
redheaded stepchild they don't talk about. He's not on the billing, he's not anywhere, is a guy named James Smith. And this guy will offend you and convict you at the same time.
oh, yeah, he is like the he is like the George Carlin, if you know this old comedian reference. He is like the George Carlin of Christian speaking without the swear words. Like he will take everything going on in the world and he throws it into his conversation, not in a PC way.
He talks about all the people, the stupid people sitting around watching football or playing fantasy football. Well, you've got all these athletes that are coming out to speak,
Yeah,
especially
Chris
after.
Carter, Tim Tebow are actually there speaking. So you have a ton of sports fans in the room bringing in their cards, hoping to get them signed. And he's talking about how stupid sports fans are and how and he means it in a way of, he's like, I love all people. He's like, I love people. But his point is the
You could be doing.
time you spend
Hmm.
on these pointless things, uh, when you could be changing your life. But yeah,
Yeah, I wrote down, don't waste your time on things that have no value. That was like the
yeah,
point of his whole thing. And he's like, he gives away money, like, but what he does is he teaches people how to use it then and how to get out of poverty. And
yeah.
like, it was so cool. But he was also, I was like, oh, this,
Here's the here's the thing about him. When you think about, I would love to spend more time with him because the depth of who he is, I think would be like overwhelming in the best ways because when he's up on the stage, there's so much shock value till he's like, I am not candy coating anything. He touched on everything. I mean, if you think it and he even said, he says, they tell us when we come up here, we shouldn't talk about race, religion, politics, this. He's like, I'm gonna talk about all of them. And he did. And he threw out every sort of stereotypical thing you could from what a bunch of
it was
bull
like
this
being back
is.
in the 80s, like when
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live was funny.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like George Carlin with no, you know, swear words and from a Christian perspective. But then at the end, when you got to at the end of the day, when we went to go meet him and get a picture with him, he, they kept not yelling, they kept saying over the microphone, he's got to catch a flight in 15 minutes. Please move it along. Please go as quickly as you can. Limit your talking. He's got to go. And Renee and I were towards the end of the line and we're like, oh, I hope we get up there because people won't stop talking to him. But then you get up there and it wasn't the people, it was him. He there's no way he made that flight. There's no way because either that or he really didn't just have 15 minutes because he was taking time. By the time we got up to him, it had been 15 minutes
Yeah.
and he was in no hurry. And he sat and talked with us. Like, I think we were hurrying him. We're like, you gotta, like, okay, bye. Like, you gotta catch a flight.
And he's like,
But
no, let me just tell you this one thing.
yeah, he's like, let me just tell you the story real quick. It's like, okay. And then you're feeling like naughty children because you got all these people around on the microphones being like, don't talk to him. And you're like, he's talking to us.
It
Like,
was so, so good.
but he had a
Oh,
heart for every person who came through the line and took time for every single person.
um, going back to Kaylee, because I just found her page, there was one thing that I wrote down that was so impactful. And she said, stop talking about the mountains to God, start talking to the mountains about God.
Yeah,
So when you have those things and you're praying, oh God, give me this, God, me give this, you know, instead, go to your problem and be like, you know what? No, God's
my
got
God is
this.
bigger. Yeah.
So, sorry, that was really cool. Okay.
And
Chris
don't we do
Carter.
that? Okay, can we just resonate on that for a minute?
Yes,
Like
yes, yes.
really think about that. How often do we talk and compute to our brain the idea of this problem is so big, and then we go to God and we're like, God, this problem is so big, help me, or whatever. And then, but think about the effect the opposite has when you look at that problem and you're like, hey, let me just tell you who my God is and what my God's the God that parted the sea, that raises the dead, that's who my God is. This is not a problem. And I mean, that's a powerful when you really break down her statement.
Yeah. It was really good. She also said, pray for the administration. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter which administration is in control, by the way. We need to pray for our country, pray for any administration that is in control, that they will do the right thing.
Yeah.
Um, she also said nothing matters more than family, and you should start your day with a devotional and end your day with God, like as you do that. But I'm gonna throw in there what Nick V said is like you got to have those conversations with him in between too. Like he's not an accessory. He is definitely in us. And so we need to be having those conversations all the time.
Yeah.
What else? We're going to talk about Chris Carter or Tim Tebow.
Chris
Chris
Carter
Carter, I was going to say Chris Carter was awesome. I wish they would have just let him speak rather than doing the
I think what they do is because they did this last time too. I think for some of the people, if they're not people who are actively traveling around doing speaking,
mm,
to help them be able to speak without having to be up there doing that sort of thing. Because I don't think he does like speaking engagements like that for a living where he just goes and talks for 30 minutes. So they'll do this little question and answer thing where they'll ask questions and so the first thing is I wouldn't have even recognized him. It's so funny how I've gotten older, but in my brain, Chris Carter looks the same as he did when he was wearing the 80 jersey and out on the field. And so I'm like, that's Chris Carter? And like, oh yeah. I mean, he looked great, but he just didn't look like he looked on the field. He had more hair, he had glasses, he had facial hair, he had just, evolved. I don't look like I looked when I was watching Chris Carter, but you forget that part. Um,
I don't look like I looked when I was watching Chris Graybo.
I know, right? Uh,
Gravy, gravy. There we go.
he was he was really good. And I'm gonna admit something that sounds so shallow but it's so true. I was really happy to hear him. And I was really happy to hear some of his behind the scenes stories of who he was because he always had a reputation for being um, a leader on the team and for being, God-centered leader on the team. But he also had quite a reputation locally of kind of being an ass. Like when people approached him in public, when fans or whatever, like he didn't give people the time of day or wasn't whatever. And so you get all these stereotypes. And I had heard that several times about him. And so I always thought he must kind of just be like, I don't know what, but maybe he's just a jerk. And so to actually get to hear him speak, I mean, I don't know why he was or wasn't that way with the people you had heard stories from. And I'm talking like firsthand stories of people I knew who had gone to things or had met him. And so it was really refreshing to get to like really hear him speak from his heart and see that side of him.
So part of that, I mean, you have to think about it. Um, First off, I'm gonna give this from a go sports ball perspective because
A what?
go sports ball. Like I'm not I, I don't know, football, baseball, basketball,
Oh,
sports
pick your
ball,
ball. I'm like, what are you
whatever,
talking about?
right? I've been doing what James Smith said and not paying attention to things that have no value for me there,
Right,
right?
right,
I'm very blessed to be married to a husband who is like, I mean, he used to watch and play basketball and all that stuff, but like after we got married, he's like, what's the point? Like
right,
I can watch other people do something or I can do something myself.
right.
Very funny story, which I think I've maybe shared about my dad and uh watching sports, but we'll share that for another time. Um anyway, one of the reasons I think him or celebrities might be looked at as jerks is, can you imagine how many times he missed or didn't do a play the some way that some couch quarterback, so they're coming up to him, why didn't you do this? Or, like, or take a picture with me. Like it had to, any person, even all these people who were up on stage
Sure.
and were like, oh my gosh, I want to get a picture. Like I wanted a picture with Nick V. And I was like really disappointed that I didn't get that. And there's a whole other part of that there was an opportunity and it was misspoken. And I could have been really upset about it. But instead I was like, well, that's just not what it's supposed to be. But here are these people
Yeah.
who are tugged at all the time. And maybe he has relator high and he's just like, too many people, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what his strengths are. So people can get, like, a lot of people will say, what a jerk my husband is, because, well, he never talks to me. He doesn't talk to anybody who's not family. And he only talks to family because he
Right.
has to, because we're here in the house, right? But he is one of the kindest, most generous people I know, where
Right.
you've got these figures out there. So maybe that's what it is. But what I saw coming from a perspective of never knowing anything was a super humble man who was talking about how he was an alcoholic and like turned his life around, which was amazing.
Right.
So
Well,
again, getting to that point of pain and going, something's got to change, and then listening to God.
right. And that's where I was saying it's like that it was a shallow thought of mine. Like I was younger and you hear people have experiences and you take those little experiences and you shape somebody's personality that you don't even know. And
Yeah.
then as you get older, you look at it and it's like, well, clearly people who are that level of celebrity, you have to have boundaries. I mean, even the picture opportunities we had at the end, like they had you in line, you couldn't bring anything in. They shuffled you through, like it was very systematic. And it was, as a fan who wanted to get a picture and have a moment, it was a little frustrating. But when you step outside of that and you realize there are uh, hundreds and hundreds of people in this line who want to have that same moment, and that there's, you have to try and systematize it to make it work for everyone. As an older person, I can look back and realize, those people who had those experiences with him, uh, there's only so much a human can give, or he wasn't even in there, like in one case, it wasn't like it was a signing event. So now you're, kind of barging into their personal life with no context of what's happening or what kind of hurry they're in. So that's where I was saying it was really nice to get to hear from him and see like who he really is outside of these impressions you get from when you were young and stories you heard from other people, and not being smart enough to, not let that shape your opinion of someone.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
did not know he used to drink, though. I didn't know that he had a drinking problem.
Well, because once he moved to Minnesota, he stopped. So
Yeah,
if you only knew him from his days in Minnesota, that's why he got fired from, or cut. They aren't fired, they're
yeah.
cut from the
His
other
first team, yeah.
team somewhere else.
I never knew all that about him. So,
All right. We got two more
Tim
left.
Tebow.
Oh, Tim Tebow. I He has so much energy. He's so charismatic. And you know me,
Hmm.
I like a charismatic preacher.
Yeah,
I love it. And he came out and said um, that he and Chris Carter had two things in common, or just, I think maybe it was just one thing in common. They both were cut. He goes, but unlike Chris, I just was cut.
yeah. He was like over and over again. He's like,
But I
yeah,
love, so he told this story about this because his family was poor, and they were really good about getting him as much as possible to baseball and to football and to basketball, because like he's in all these sports, and all these sports were pretty much all of them year round. And so finally when he was old enough, they got him this old Thunderbird,
yeah,
and not like one of the cool looking Thunderbirds, but like a, looks pretty much like a sedan type Thunderbird. I don't know,
yeah,
we can pull it up at some point, but how like it would run mostly, and people got to the point like he had it, through high school, took it to college, and people would be like, I'm not jumping in your car because I don't know if we're gonna make it. And he ran
Yeah.
it, ran it, and ran it, and he was so excited to be signed on with, was it the Denver Broncos?
Yep.
Okay, phew, I remember this. And his car was in Florida and it was dead. It wasn't going to make it anywhere. It wasn't. So he's out and he gets a call from the king of NASCAR,
Richard Petty.
Richard Petty. Thank you.
Yes, number 43. My
Car.
husband's family is a NASCAR fan. We have, you wouldn't believe the amount of Richard Petty autographed stuff we have around here and how many times we've met him. Yeah, Richard Petty.
I mean, I have all sorts of other things that, okay. Anyway, so he's talking about this car and Richard Petty calls him and he's like, what do you call him? He's like, the king of NASCAR. Do I call him Mr. Petty King, sir? Like, and he's so respectful. Everything is sir. And
Yeah,
he's just, sorry, he's cute as a button, right?
he is. He's
Look how
so
old I am.
cute.
He's just, oh, bless his heart. He's cute as a button. And he's talking about this. And Richard Petty says, I hear that your car is dead and he was trying to get it hauled away, but he couldn't, like, there was all these things. He's like, would it be okay if I went and picked it up? He's like, I love your story. I love what you stand for. Can I go get this car? And he's like, yes, sir. Because he's like, what am I going to say? Like,
Sure.
yes, thank you, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. And then a couple months later, Richard Petty calls him and says, hey, Tim, can you take a day off? Like when you have a day off, can you fly out here? I want to show you some stuff. And he's like, King of NASCAR calls and asks you, yes, sir. So he goes out there and there's these bays, just these bays of cars, and they would open one up and he's like, this was the first NASCAR, but and he's like taking him through all these different bays, showing him the cars, and he's like just fascinated by what Richard Petty's showing him, and he's just so fascinated. And then gets to the last bay and he opens it up and he says, do you recognize this car? And he says, no, sir.
Uh,
Like all the other cars, like he knew. He's like, no, sir. And he's like, this is your car. And he's like, that ain't my car.
he's like, no, sir.
Sir. And then he kept going, that ain't my car. And he's just looking at this beautiful car. And here is something that didn't work. It was broken. It was, and I could hear his point as it was coming before he got to it, that it was transformed by the king, right?
Hmm.
And it's the same thing. Like we can be transformed by the king, but it got even better. Like it got even better. Do you want to talk about the better part?
No, you talk about the better part real quick. I'm copying
Okay.
the car into the chat.
Okay. See if we can. Well, I can make you the host and you can pull it up. So as he's talking, let me make you co-host really quick. This is going a little bit longer today, guys, but
I
this
threw it in the chat. So
uh yeah, I don't know how to pull that
the
up.
im-
If you want
oh,
to share it, you can share it. Anyway, so as he's talking, Richard Petty says, okay, so let's go for a drive. And he's like, well, when the king of NASCAR asks you to go for a drive, you don't go in the driver's seat. And he says, I started to go in the passenger seat. And he was like, no, 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 you're going to drive. And he's thinking, I'm going to drive with what? But he says, you just say yes, sir. And so he got in the car and
no,
he
see,
started
it's
to
gonna show my
drive.
other screen.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
Oh, can you see it on there?
Yeah, it's kind of small, but I can see it. And so here's this car that he's looking. He's like, it's beautiful, and I've never seen it. He also says, I don't know who that woman was because it was just a picture, just like Shannon just pulled it off the internet. And he says, we're pulling out onto the racetrack. And he's like, I've never driven on a racetrack. I don't know what I'm doing. And he says, it's okay. I know this track because I built this track. I know the path. And I'm like listening
Mhm.
to this and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and he said, just listen to my voice. I will lead you through this.
Yeah.
And so then he said that he listened, because he's got to look straight ahead, but he can hear Richard Petty's voice. And he started to equate it. He said, I could hear the king's voice. And he was like, okay, go a little faster, go faster, go faster. Okay, slow down here, turn this way, turn that way. Like, and it was just this amazing, beautiful analogy of we don't need to know the track. We just need to listen to the king.
Yeah. We just need to be willing
It was
to
so
go
good.
and listen. Yeah, he always impresses me with he's a really good speaker. And it's funny because when he first starts talking, he talks so fast and he's just going a mile a minute. I almost always think I'm like, I wonder if he's like my daughter does. My daughter's ADD quite a bit and she'll do that. She'll just get going and I'm like, but I think it's just his I think that's the pace in which his brain moves at always.
Well, he's had to make snap decisions. Like,
Yeah. So,
so I wrote this down and he said, actually listen to God and his words. Are you ready for the transformation? So that was his car, right? Beautiful
yeah.
analogy. He said, listen to his voice and trust him. And when the king says go, we say, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was so good.
And,
Um,
and the stuff he does for trafficking, human trafficking is crazy. That's like his I thought it was so cool the video they showed of him with just like all the he's very, very called to like special needs children and
yeah,
trafficked children, women. It's just like that whole thing. And to see all the pictures and all the things with all the kids, and oh my gosh, if it doesn't make your heart just melt.
yeah.
So,
It was so good. So, so, so good. Should we talk about our friend John?
my man, that's who I wanted to see. It's on like my bucket list. If I could spend an afternoon with any one human, he would be like one of my top five. John Maxwell.
Yeah,
I don't even know how many books he has out, like dozens and dozens. Like he has so many books out and um, just so amazing in his wisdom and his thought process on team and personal growth and just yeah, I have no words. He has a thing you can sign up for. It's a minute with Maxwell. You can go to like his website and you can sign up for it. And every morning you get an email that has like a little 1 minute video of him giving you like this little nugget of
should drop that link.
yeah. So um, but he is so funny and he is so relatable and he just shares. I got in trouble because I was videoing him. Almost got kicked out of the Christian event. No, I didn't really almost get kicked out. But you weren't allowed to video whole things, but you were allowed to take clips. And I had started videoing them because when you start to take your little clip video, you have no idea what they're about to say because you
Yeah.
just have to start and hope you catch like a little moment in your clip. Or and I happened to start and he said something and then he had a story to tell about it that went with it. So I had been videoing for like 90 seconds and somebody told on me. So somebody came over I was like, you can't video this. I'm like, you can video clips. Like I've this has been like 90 seconds I've been videoing. But I could have listened to him all day. Like they could have had him just all day and I could have listened to him. What was your big takeaway from him?
I'm looking at my notes right here. So he had like 7 points he was telling us, but we only got 5 of them because he likes to talk. And he's like,
Yeah.
whoever put this timer here, like they need to stop that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is he was talking about good misses and bad misses, right? A good miss is when you make an adjustment, and a bad miss is when you make excuses. Your response to failure lets you know if it is a good miss or a bad miss. So,
Yeah.
and this is where he was talking about is how to get, he's got a book coming out next spring where I will get all 7 of these things, but it's how to get return on failure. So I'll just quickly run through be responsible and properly prepare yourself and your team for failures and have upfront expectations. Keep failure and success together. Don't separate them because failure is your resilience and success you need to approach with humility. There are good misses and bad misses, and I already said that. Embrace hard. Everything worthwhile is uphill, and we have uphill hopes and downhill habits. And I have this great picture where he's like uphill hopes and he's got both arms down like this, and then he's downhill habits. So it looks like he's dabbing.
Yeah.
Um, and develop a process to receive and return on failure. So that's where he was talking about the good miss and the bad miss. And you don't have to do the do until you do the did. So you can do the do. My gosh. This was hilarious because everybody's like, I want to do what you do. And he's like, well, do you really want to do what I do? Because if you do what I do, you have to do what I did. And if you're not ready to do what I did, you can't do the what I do. And if you and he kept going and going, and he's like, and if you mess up, you're in big doo doo.
Uh, yeah,
And
he was so cute.
the quickest way to learn is through intentional failure. You test, you fail, you learn, you improve, and you re-enter. And I was like,
And
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's so often people will test and fail and test and fail and test and fail. But you have to test and fail, learn, improve, and then re-enter and start doing that again.
Which sounds great. Yeah, that's the piece. It really hits you when he said that because I had when he was saying that, I had drawn like this almost like the cycle of chaos where I had drawn like this circle of you. It goes round like this and goes around like this, and you re-enter. And then he's like, no, when you re-enter, it's like a parking ramp. You go to the next level. Like you go through that process of failure, then you go up to the next level. And so
But
you're always leveling up.
most people are doing this. He says,
Right.
stop doing this.
Yeah.
Stop just hitting your head.
But
Oh,
that was the big thing I had written down when he said the your hopes are up here, your habits are down here. It's like how true is that?
yeah,
Like, and that's a great thing to look at when you have a goal, do your actions support that goal you have?
yeah. And his question that he asked someone once, and this is a great question to ask people because typically they will come up with an answer that is very different. But he says, which failure would you do over? Like if you know, like which failure would you do over? And I've thought about this in my past where like, yeah, there's a lot of things I wish I wouldn't have done, but they created who I am today.
Yep.
And so you have to go through all of those. And that's what his point. He's like, none. They all helped me learn.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a beautiful message is we can, as my dad would say, you can wish in one hand or poop in the other and see which one fills up faster.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can
My
wish
dad says that too.
we can wish our failures, we could wish our past wasn't there. We could wish we didn't like this young man sitting next to me, 28 years old, going, but I've done so many bad things in the past. I'm like, that's your old man. That's your old man. You're a new man, right?
Yeah.
You are here, you are sitting here, you are moving forward. But if we keep looking backward, that's not going to help us. Instead, get on your knees and pray and say, okay, God, like I did all this stuff. I don't want to do that anymore. Help me forward.
And use those experiences to help me help others.
Yes, because I
Yeah.
am most equipped to help the person who I used to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Perfect ending point.
there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed our recap of Life Surge. We'll probably drop a bunch of different I have some clips, so I will
Yeah.
probably drop a bunch of clips. Shannon, you can share some stuff with me, and we will load them up here for you along with some links. Please drop any positive comments you have. Remember, we are just going on what we hear God lead us to. So please be kind. And we hope you guys have a very blessed day. Let us know how we can pray for you.